Welcome to Market Buzz. I'm Greg Schnell, the Canadian technician and host of the Market Buzz. Each show we do a deep dive into different industries using weekly charts to see what is happening on a long timeline. Please follow me on Twitter at Schnell Investor, and you can also find my blogs on gregschnell.com as well as StockCharts.com. So this week I want to cover off travel and tourism. We have the vaccine looks like it's going to be quite high in efficacy. And so with that data, one of the things that should happen, and one of the things we've seen in China is that their travel and tourism sector really resumed. And even EasyJet in Europe announced that their booking volume last week after the Pfizer announcement jumped 50%. So albeit at a low level, it went up 50% from that just on the back of news that there was a virus or a vaccine for us. So all of that lines up to me to say, if you weren't interested in this sector, there might be a reason to get interested. And so today I thought I'd do two things, not just talk about travel and tourism, but show you how would you go set up a list to start following it. And recently I did a show on the move to electric vehicles, and hopefully some of you are the subscribers to the newsletter, but literally we've had stocks jumping off the page, and they get these nice setups and all of a sudden they go on a rip. And it's that kind of setup, being prepared in advance to be able to see these trades as they go on. And yes, you can follow the whole market at once. The difficulty is you've got hundreds of stocks that'll come in, whereas if you know that there's a certain area of the market that's moving relatively aggressively, and let's just say that this vaccine kind of times out in March, and I'll get into that in just a second, but just to pick that as a date, you want to have your groups all set up so you can go and research those stocks. So that's what I want to do today. And the point I want to make is not so much that this is how you must do it, but I'm giving you a suggestion. And somebody had emailed me and said, Greg, could you show me how you go about setting up that list? So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to call it my travel and tourism list. So the two vaccines suggest an early exit. And what do we mean by that? So with the announcement by Pfizer, one of the things that happened was that their product had to be stored at a very cold temperature. I think it was minus 70 Celsius or something like that, minus 100 Fahrenheit, really chilly. And the problem would be that isn't something that a pharmacy would have or whatever, so that you would have to go and do that through a hospital sort of system. And that would be more difficult. It's still logistically possible, but more difficult. The Moderna example came out with an even higher efficacy rate of 95% of the people, and in that particular case, it could be done at room temperature. Now, why that matters is because then Walgreens and CVS and all the regular pharmacies in Canada, it would be a Shoppers Drug Mart, would just have that stuff sitting in there in the pharmacy, and you could go in and get a vaccine relatively quickly. So that's a game changer. And if you think that we were fast on the science, I mean, really, we got hit with this in February, March, and here we are in November with two vaccines that suggest very high efficacy rates. And I think Dr. Fauci said by the end of December, we could have 20 million people in the U.S. already have treatment. And by early January or January, we'd have a lot of the high-risk seniors that could be potentially harmed by this getting a treatment. So rolling that forward to pick March, we could be in the order of 100 million people already receiving a vaccine within the first quarter. So what that suggests to me is that things are going to ramp quite quickly. And again, if there's anything that America is good at, it is the time from manufacturing to delivery. And Amazon's been a classic example of how to shorten that time frame as fast as possible. All your trucking and logistics systems are all just-in-time delivery. There are huge companies around the world already actively getting ready for this. And as we unroll these viruses, they're already making the viruses, so as soon as they're approved, they'll be hitting vaccination centers very quickly. I think that all lines up to me that the part of our life called the consumer discretionary part of our life has really been muted by the vaccine, and we're seeing the auto stocks break out. People don't want to take public transit; they're buying SUVs. That's what we're seeing in China too, and they're kind of leading the way because the vaccine's not quite behind them yet, but by far they're definitely not peaking anymore. So it's that change that we're seeing that I think is one of the most helpful. And so what I want to cover off today is I don't know why that didn't go to where I wanted to go. What I want to cover off today is getting that whole group set up, and then briefly we'll look at some of the stocks within the group. But for the most part, what I want to be passionate about is getting it all set up. Now, that sounds easy, but I think the bigger thing for me is that what I want to cover as we go forward, what I want to cover off here is making sure that you understand. So we're going to literally start from page 1 here. You log into StockCharts, and you're going to go to your dashboard. And got the spinning wheel. Okay. And so what we want to do here is we want to go in on this, and we want to start, and we want to make a scan. And the scan we want to make is, we're going to call it a new scan. And normally you're looking for a stock, whatever, with a certain volume. We want to get rid of all that criteria, so we're just going to zero it out. Now down here at the bottom is sectors and industries, and what we're going to do is we're going to go in, and in this group, this cyclicals is the same as consumer discretionary, and we can go in and pick the different industry groups that we want. So let's say we wanted travel and tourism. So we would add that. Now, it's going to put that up there, but while I'm here, I'm just going to go pick the other ones that I want. And I'm going to go pick restaurants and bars. That would be something that could also benefit from a post-COVID experience. And then we're going to go down here, recreational products and services. And add those. And then obviously there's a few other ones that are interesting. Hotels. And then how about gambling? That's probably another one that would probably speed up if people were allowed to sit at a table together. And so you get the idea. So we could do this now. We could also go to industrials, right? And we could add airlines just as an example. So you could, I'll give you the choice. You could add that in or not. I'm not going to add it in because it's in a whole different sector. And I typically like to use it as in my transportation group, but you're more than welcome to add it in, and you would just go click on this one and it would put it in. So when we do that, what happens is we get all of these listed up here. Now the problem is if I go run this scan, it says check syntax and everything's okay, but if I run this scan, it's not going to work. And the reason is because you can't be in travel and tourism and in a restaurant and a bar group. You can only be in one or the other. So we have to go change that. So anytime you add, and I'm going to remove the airlines here at the bottom. So anytime you want to do that, you need to put brackets around the whole thing and then go change everything that it could be, or it could be, or it could be. And so we're just going to go literally clean this out. And hopefully this isn't too boring for everybody. Whoops. And we get this like this. And one more. And the last one. Okay, so with that, what we've got now is we have the group is either travel and tourism, or it's restaurants and bars, or it's recreational services, products, whatever. So now when we run this scan, we check our syntax, and what that just means is it makes sure we got the brackets right. By putting the brackets right at the beginning, it can help kind of keep it more logical. But basically it's saying if it's in travel and tourism, or it's in restaurants, or it's in services, or it's in products, please put it together for me when I run this scan. So we run this scan. Now, I did this in advance to try and make it work, but you could store these new results in a chart list and you could just call it whatever, travel and tourism. I have mine all labeled out a little differently. So we're not going to do that. We're going to replace items in an existing chart list. And again, that chart list I have. So I have all of these different industry groups, and I've shown this a few times before, but anytime I want to jump into something, I can. And so here's one called travel and tourism down here. And I'm going to replace an existing chart list with these items. And when I put them in, it's going to say, okay. So now what I've done is in here I've got roughly 175 names. Now I could sort it by a couple of reasons. I could sort it by gambling, I could sort it by sector. Well, we kind of know the sector. They were all in consumer discretionary. So we can even get rid of that column because it's not really going to help us with anything. And so industry is this second group, and sector we want to get rid of. And so now we're down to that. Now, one of the ways to sort for things, if I'm sorting by industry group, is you could have the sector, or if I just wanted to put all the strong stocks all at the top and I don't care what the group is, I would sort them like this. So it really depends on the sort order you want. But as an example, when we go through here, I want to make a point. So here's Nautilus, and this is like fitness equipment, right? So it's soared on the back of everybody needing fitness equipment, and so it took off to the moon, and now it's breaking down. So the scooter ranking is still high because the stock is still in an uptrend, but nonetheless, we can all see it's fallen almost 30% or more from its highs already. Whereas Expedia has just started to turn up here. Well, took off last week and is starting to break out. But we got a whole bunch of these that we could go through and look. So the scooter ranking is still going to help us. I think that's probably one of the better methods to use to rank these. So we can put them together. But it's, if you wanted to, you would just click on this column title. And then the next thing we're going to do is scroll all the way down to the very bottom of the page and say number in sorted order. So what that does is it's going to put a number in front of every one of these and then allow us to just quickly go in and look at the stock. So again, I don't want to do it in this order because I want to use the scooter ranking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the volume, then the scooter. And that way, if it doesn't have a scooter ranking, it'll give me the stocks with the most volume first. And I'm not going to click on the industry group. Now I go to the bottom of the page, I hit number in sorted order, and we kick this up. Okay, so with this, I've got a whole list of stocks to go look at now. Hopefully you understand what we've done there. So again, I have all of these different lists of stocks that I want, and in my case, I picked an odd number so I could remember it. To lead all of my areas. And then what I did in each one of these was I put a hyphen and then the letter of the word I want so that I could sort them in a logical sort order for me. So as an example, Toronto Stock Exchange, I want to go see the TSX, and then these are all the companies in the listing, like in the S&P 500, and these are all the ones that are not big enough to be in that listing in Canada. And so as you create your list, you want to go in and have them so you can quickly look at them. And I like to trade industries. So when I think something's taking off, right now electric vehicle stocks are taking off. Marijuana stocks had their glory. Gambling stocks could have their glory. Whatever, we want to have them divided out. So I actually have one up here called gambling, and I got a whole bunch of gold ones, as you might imagine, with the commodities I like to trade. But when you go through all of these, the idea is to set it up for you. So you don't have to set it up like I've set it up, but the idea being by putting a number and then this letter, you can control the sort order so that somewhere in my chart list, and I have 347 chart lists or something crazy out of 350. That the pro level gives me. It's up to you however many you want to create. But my point would be put them in some method that helps you. And I think you'll find if you just call them alphabetical, it's a bit of a nightmare. So try and work it out for yourself how you do it. But again, if I wanted to go find the Dow Jones Industrial, they're going to be under I. And industrials or industrial metals, they're going to be under I. It's that kind of thing. Okay, I've beaten that drum, so we're good. Now what we want to do is we've got all these stocks sitting in chart list, and I've put the strongest stock first. Now here's a stock that gapped up quite cleanly, and it's sitting right up here testing prior highs. And the problem is it's hard to tell which industry group it is, and I don't really know. I actually do know this particular one, but when you turn on the full quote panel, what that's going to do for you is put this little title up here in the top. And by having that title, that's very helpful. And you can at least realize what what group you're involved in. Is that the right way to say that? I guess so. So I need to keep in mind that if the industry group isn't really the one I want to be in, yet it's in this consumer discretionary bundle, or I don't want to be all my stocks in the same sort of industry group. I might want to trade some in the industry group, but I might not want them all. At least this helps to be able to figure out how they are set up. So with that, then you can discover the ones you want. So the next thing we want to do is decide if you want to look at it on a daily or a weekly chart. And I've got a whole bunch of different chart settings already set up, right? And so we could use one of these if we wanted the daily view, or we could use a weekly chart to kind of give us a bigger perspective. Let's just take this one just because it's different and I can look at it quickly. We'll just widen it out to the whole page width, and I'm just trying to pick some different examples to show you all about getting things set up. So in this case, I want it to be wider, so you could pick a custom width here by using this drop down, or you could pick one of the standard sizes. So if I do 1280, just as an example, okay, it doesn't quite fit on my page, and so that's why I prefer to use a custom. And so what happens when you go with the word custom is you get to pick the size. So in this case, for the most part, the screen maxes out at 750, and this is 1250. And if I have the zoom box on the side, okay, it's like that. And I could go to 1400 just to show you that that's how you're changing the width or the height. And then once you get it here, what you want to do is go down and say apply style to all. And again, I'm not saying you have to use my chart list or anything, but I'm just trying to show you how to tweak this so you get a full screen. You've got the information you need. You got a couple of indicators, whatever they are that you like. These are the ones I like. But again, now what we can do is we can quickly go through and we can view these quite rapidly. So I'm going to just scroll through them now, and let's just say that we like or don't like a chart, and we may like this one, and why not? It's almost hitting new highs, and perhaps it's going to break out. And then here's Penn National Gaming, and it hasn't really broken out yet. So here's Peloton Interactive, and again, this one's dropped quite significantly, and maybe you still want to keep an eye on this stock. Here's Caesars Entertainment. Now this is an example. Let's say you think gambling stocks are going to go, so this is one we might expect to keep running. Here's Scientific Games. Again, a lot of these are already in place, but we're going to come to some stocks that are really setting up nicely for a big advance here. So here's one that's been trapped down in this lower level and it gapped up. Expedia, it's up near prior highs there. Now, can it go a lot further? Sure, and we've got Airbnb coming out. You'd probably add that in this group. Let's say this Nautilus one, we actually don't think it's going to be one of the strongest names on the backside. And it could be, it couldn't be, it doesn't really matter. The point is, if you hit this delete button, it just takes it out of this list and you can keep looking. Here's Yeti, the very expensive coolers and all that kind of stuff. I was at Golf Town yesterday, and there's all kinds of Yeti coolers for $300 and $400, and you really got to want cold beer at that price point. Anyway, big wild swing on this Kodak chart. I think we remember they got something to do with the pandemic. The stock took off for one day or whatever, came all the way back down from $2 to $60 and back to nothing. Well, I don't really think that's the chart we want. So anyway, you're going to keep going through and get down to a chart list that you're looking for, and you might just want to keep this chart list all the time so then you don't throw out those other charts, but it's your travel and tourism list. So here's MGM Grand, and it's just starting to move, right? It was 22.50 2 weeks ago. It's 25.50. Now, it never really was above $34. Is it going to get much more? I guess that's the question you need to ask. Here's GoPro, and if you think people are going to get out and do more when they can, the stock might just keep going. It's at $8 now. It's been trending nicely, nothing wrong with it. Okay, here's Escalade, don't have any idea what they do. Stock's been sideways for months. It's fine. Here's Royal Caribbean. I think this is probably one of the companies, and it might not be in 6 months, it might be in a year. But whatever, you're watching it, and you now see 74 as the prior high here, 75.55. And so what I would do in this particular case is I would go in and, if you wanted to stay on a weekly chart or a daily chart, it doesn't really matter. But what you can do is just go grab a horizontal line, right? And you're just going to draw it right here. And I'll show you one other way that you can set this horizontal line. But we're basically sitting at the high. So all of a sudden, if this thing breaks out any more and closes up there, it's going to be closing at a new high since the pandemic, and as it breaks out of this sort of range, that's something you're looking for. And we've just seen the auto companies. GM just broke out of a big 2-year range or 4-year range. Ford's been pushing up higher. This PPO momentum indicator is just moving above zero right now as we're finally getting through this. So this makes it a pretty nice way to do that. Now the other way to do it is to go in here, and we could add a horizontal line, and I'm just going to pick $80 rather than the $75 up there. But when we draw that line on the chart, and we're just going to pick blue, and when you draw that line, so now I've got a line at 75.55 and a line at $80. You can put this line wherever you want. So you can just, whatever, $20. Is there a $20 on the chart? Yep. And so now I've got one at $20 and one at the top of the range. And so that's an easy way to go and set the chart lines on there. And then if you wanted to, you could set an alert. And the way you set an alert is you go to StockCharts and you go to your dashboard. And over here, you could start a new alert. And the alert would be when RCL crosses above, and we're going to pick, it was $75, so it comes in with the current price, and we're going to say if it goes above $76, let me know, because I probably want in and I want to see a break out of this nice base, right? So that would be good. And then you just say save alert, and now when RCL does that, it's going to send me an email. So this is very simple stuff. You get it all set up. And then as we work through these chart lists, what we see, again, I'm just going to try and get back to the scrolling mode, 10 per page. And now we're breaking out to the top side, okay? So as we're starting to head up here, this is Eat, another restaurant and bar that, I think they'll do just fine. Here's Dave & Buster's. They're just breaking out of this zone now. This looks nice. Already starting to move. That's really good. Here's Boyd's Gaming. Right up against prior highs. Yes, it might run more, but I'm probably looking for something that hasn't already had this big run. And RCI, hospitality, so I think that's the family vacation properties. Anyway, what you see here is it's trying to break through prior highs. That one could probably do pretty well, right? When people can start to travel again. Will it matter? That's a good question. Avis Car Rental, we had Hertz kind of go through a financial restructuring. This one's probably going to do just fine when travel surges again. Okay. So here's Live Nation, and this one, right, concerts and stuff starting to take off. This stock really started to pop to the upside. PPO momentum just started to change. Look at the volume come in here. It might consolidate sideways for a while, but odds are people are going to go back to listening to live concerts. And here's Bulgari Holdings, restaurants and bars. This one's breaking out to new post-COVID highs. That's nice, $600 stock. BJ Restaurants, this one just breaking out to prior highs here, trying to get back through. Some of these are already back at their prior highs. And now here's Wyndham Destination, so a hotel name. And you can see it's trying to push up and get going. So again, we're looking at some of the best names first. I actually find down by the 75 level, we're at 88 on the scooter, down by 75 a lot of times is where you'll see the breakouts starting to happen. Here's Ruth Chris, nice steakhouse, starting to push to the upside. Scooter ranking just going above 75. This one could run up there for a year, right? It could go from $14 to $24 and still be within the range of 2020, and that's a nice 50% push on the stock. I have no idea what Hazoo Group does. Hotels breaking above prior highs. That just looks bullish. And you can just see as you go through, this is a pretty easy way to scan. Now I don't have to go through and look for all the different names. And again, you can sort them by industry group so that if it was gambling, you wanted to go check or whatever, you've got it sorted that way. Biglery Holdings again. Not sure why it's in here twice. Okay. Norwegian Cruise Lines, this one's another one of those ones again. Maybe people don't get on the cruise ship right away, but eventually, let's just say this starts to trend. Now, at least you're interested. And the same thing with airlines. Here's Marriott Worldwide. I wrote an article on the weekend about that one in the Chart Watchers. And here's Bali, hotels and resorts, gambling. So you're breaking out to new highs here. Could keep going. Cheesecake Factory's been trending up. Garmin, really popping nicely here, probably on the back of a little bit of golf action there with everybody playing golf and buying all the Garmin equipment for GPS data. Blue Green Vacations, this one's still basing here at $6. Can it get back up to 8 or 9? Good question. Marriott International, nice gap up. Maybe in this case you might say it's already done it. Now Shake Shack was a beautiful stock. Let's just click on this one. I'm just going to go back, 8 years or something. Okay, so there's its IPO. So what you see is the stock went up to 100, back to 30, up to 100, just middle of last year. It was breaking down even before January, then fell apart, and now it's trying to get through the pre-high. I want to know kind of why it shot up and shot down here, but the bottom line is if this stock is going to start building and climbing out of here, this would be a nice example of something that's working. Okay. So I've given some examples here. What I want to make sure that we understand is what we did. We went and we created a scan by selecting the industry groups from the bottom of the scan engine, and then used that to put them in a chart list. And now we can go through that chart list and start to look at them. Again, we could scroll down through all of these and try and find stocks that are more in a position that we'd like. I don't know what you like. If you like to buy breakouts or if you like to buy brand new, then this one's probably got it all for you. But with that, thank you for taking the time to join me on Market Buzz. Market Buzz airs Wednesdays at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. You can also see the recording on StockCharts TV YouTube page. Thanks again, everybody. Bye-bye.
Hey, Grayson Rose here with StockCharts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, consider giving it a like down below, maybe leave us a comment, and if you're new to the channel, you can subscribe at the link up above. We're going to bring you daily content from an incredible collection of technical analysts and financial experts.